I don't know how much value I have in this universe, but I do know that I made a few people happier than they would have been without me. And as long as I know that, I'm as rich as I ever need to be.
Hey kid, what time is that?
It's time to refresh.
Back once again with another podcast. This is It's Time to Refresh. Back by popular demand, Carl Clover. Just because we didn't even get onto your story last time, and we'll jump straight into it in a minute. But basically, a lot of people were like, "That was fucking." Like, a lot of people regard that as like the best episode yet. So take that as you will. Honestly,
good.
It was really good, and as I say, one of my favourite episodes. So obviously we've talked off pod a little bit and saying about how people realise that you're not just an artist; there's like a three-dimensional person behind it as well. We were saying about like we got a lot of messages. You were saying you got a few, I got a few, saying about how people have went through the same thing. So if this podcast has achieved something, it's achieved this. Do you know what I mean?
Good. No, it's good. It's a good pod, mate. Like I say, I messaged you quite a bit off the back of up certain ones and that, and it gives you the chance to sort of know people away, because you can't get to know me at a rave, like you just can't. Especially if I'm not working, like it was Wonderland last week.
I was going to ask you about that.
You're never ever going to get to know me at Wonderland, apart from seeing me just bouncing around, having the time of my life, pissed out my head, and that's it. Like, you're never going to get certainly not a serious conversation out of me. And then if I'm working, the version of me that you see when I'm up on stage is, again, completely different to how I am now, or what I'm like, you know. Come here.
We've got a special guest on here today.
Yeah, this is Diego.
Diego, after Maradona, obviously.
Yeah.
But well, as I start them all off, because somebody pointed out to me that I didn't do it on the last episode, and I apologise. What did you have for tea last night?
Chicken and rice, same as what I said at my last one. Well, what I do though, I like my food a certain way, so what we do is I've got a friend on the market, so I just go and get one of them big trays of chicken breast, season it all up, and then I just freeze it, and then every night take one out, and then just cook it up again. But yeah,
right, that makes sense.
Next time I'm up your neck of the woods, I'll cook. I'll come see you and cook for you.
Come to the brand new studio, which I'm going to plug it a little bit here. Sorry.
Yeah, it's fine.
Basically, the floor was down. Decorating. We're starting to move the furniture and that in now, so it will be probably recorded in for the first time in about 2 weeks' time. You next time you're up, more than welcome to come. We'll do an episode and we'll do a Patreon. I'll just drop that there. I don't even know if he's got the time to do it, but yeah, you're coming to do it. Yeah.
We'll do it.
But yeah, so how have you been, anyways?
Good, mate. Yeah, really good. I've literally got nothing to complain about. Everything's going well. Had some decent, really good bookings since the last time. Some good nights.
Let's Have It look good that you put pictures up of. I was like, that's my sort of vibe.
Brilliant. That it was. Let's Have It is always a really good night. And I'm lucky enough to keep being asked to come back. Because I think the way that Keo says it is, we don't have residents, we just have regulars. And luckily, I just think you're up there for 45 minutes to an hour. Give it your all. You know, at the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that I do enough for him to ask me to come back. So, I just go for it. Big, bright, colourful, and like when I'm on stage, it's just pure energy anyway. I don't stop moving, because I always feel that, we was on about Zach before, if I see someone on stage having the time of their life, I buy into that energy. So if I'm up there and I've got a big smile and I'm loving it and I've got all the crowd going along with me, then it's a winner, innit? So
yeah, I think a lot of people as well with presence like that, it can excel you as a star. Like if you have you seen people who've got natural star energy? Like, I don't know what you would call it, like a natural charisma, where they walk in the room and you know they've walked in a room. Or like you see somebody like famously, like someone like the Beatles or Elvis,
when they just walk in and everyone's head turns. Yeah.
So I think if you add that energy to it, it just heightens it.
Yeah, definitely.
I always got a buzz off MC Storm in the hardcore scene. He jumps back and forth, and like the energy, it's infectious. Even though there's like, you might not like some of his stuff as a thing, you can't help but get invested into the effort he's putting in.
I absolutely love him. One of the first few Let's Have It's that I did, he was on.
Oh, right.
And the lineup with that was sublime. It was Finchy. I'm sure it was Finchy, Easy, Storm, and then me and Keo. And as soon as I seen Storm was on, I was like, when he's on, I don't want to drink, I don't want to piss, I don't want to speak to anyone. I'm just going to stand at the stage and just watch him. And then I was just watching him like, I looked like a proper little fanboy. I was like,
He looks
like he owns the stage, and he's just brilliant. No matter, and I've worked with him for, I think it were Rave Kids as well.
Yeah.
And he's just on another level. Like
it's a gym workout, isn't it? When
yeah,
you see him,
and he just doesn't stop, and he's brilliant. Yeah, it's a perfect example that of just watching him, and I think I try and sort of, I wouldn't say copy that, but I try and add
give the
my
same
spin.
energy. Yeah.
Because even as a performer, like watching him, and I was just like, okay, all I wanted to do was dance when he was on, but at the same time, all I wanted to do was just stand still and watch him and take note and learn off him as well. So yeah, it's he's brilliant, Storm, and he's such a nice guy as well.
Yeah.
Like usually you can get people who can be a bit sort of snobbish and stuff, and he's brilliant. He's like I say, he's a diamond of a guy.
Excellent. So you were saying you were BTID Wonderland. How was that?
Amazing. It was even it was raining, and we kept having to move it from outside to inside to outside and that. But the rain for me, I didn't stop dancing. I did like 38,000 steps, like from all, like I couldn't walk until the Thursday after that. I mean, honestly, I was knackered. My back and everything was my back, my legs, my thighs. Oh God, I'm too old to be doing that. But it was such a good do. You know, from the very first minute we got there, and it was raining, and I just thought, I'm not letting the rain spoil it.
Yeah.
That's it. Just have a few vodka Red Bulls. And
They've set a standard, haven't they, with them style raves now?
They're just different level, aren't they?
Yeah.
With BTID.
But anyone who wants to do it on a big scale, if you see someone come along and they're like, I'm going to do the biggest and best rave bouncer scene, they've set the standard.
You've got to go big.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're always just going to be compared to. It's good, but it's not BTID good.
It's
always going to be like that, and I think that's what Keo does with Let's Have It.
Yeah.
Let's Have It is big, it's bright, it's everything BTID is, but in one night, like so.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's good.
Anyways, we'll get into your story because we never got into it last time. So if you haven't seen it, I'd recommend going back because it's really good and watch the first episode with Carl. So what we'll do is, if you're alright with this, we can go from your story, but where does the music come into your
from a kid, like
a kid,
from when we lived in London. Me and my big brother was. Do you remember the Kid and Play?
House party. Yeah.
We wanted to be them. So from back then we was writing like little rhymes and stuff, and we was doing little dances and that. I'm not doing them for this, by the way. Not doing the
Patreon
dance.
exclusive behind the paywall.
But yeah, we were practicing little dances, but that back then obviously it was like more hip hop and stuff like that. But I've always, like, coming from a Jamaican background, music is from the minute you wake up, music's on. It's on all day, all night, until after we went to sleep and that. And then it's sort of, in terms of growing up, I didn't really sort of get into bounce until, not so late on, but I was more into like So Solid Crew, Heartless Crew and stuff like that. And I more wanted to be like a grime.
That makes sense. Yeah, you can. I can hear that when you talking.
And I
so what was your first rave then?
Ooh. First rave was at not Sanctuary, it was at Crick. I can't remember what it was. There were loads of nights out that had, like, say back in Bolton, back in the day, they used to have Jacks on a Thursday night. Yeah. And I remember going there one night and it was Flippin' Phil, and MC Domino was on, and Ectic was on, and I just remember seeing Domino, and he, like, at the time I was like, fucking hell, he's mint, like. And it were really good. But my first actual rave, I was at Crick. I can't remember what night it was. I don't think it was a Sanctuary one. It was just one of them where we knew about Sanctuary and all the tapes and stuff, and we was like, we've got to go along. We went along, and it weren't a Sanctuary night. Yeah. So I was fuming, but it was still a good night. But
can you remember who was on at all when you went in? Or
no, I can't remember it. I was already smashed before I got there. Like before, because obviously that's the way you do. You get smashed before you go.
Cheaper night out.
Yeah, definitely. So I was smashed before. I just remember like getting there thinking, this is Crick. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to just be that. I don't know what I expected it to be, but I didn't expect it to be that. Like, walking through that churchyard on the way there, and like,
Yeah.
as you go past Pier, and I was like, there's a nightclub around here. And then we turn onto an actual housing estate, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's Crick. Like, no way, all these tapes I've been listening to,
Yeah.
that's Crick. But
The
yeah,
atmosphere off the tapes, it makes it sound massive.
yeah,
as
you
well,
think
doesn't
it was like, you think it was like a massive club, but
Yeah.
just got there, and I was like, no way, this is just not what I expected it to be. But yeah, it was still a really good night from what I remember. But
Yeah.
and then I started going to like the Sanctuary nights.
So this was sank at the Crick at this time.
Yeah.
So what's this, like 2002, 2003?
Yeah, and then I think our Jordan ended up getting on with them round about that time, 2003, 2004-ish. And then it moved to Syndicate,
Yeah.
and then Syndicate was ace. I loved it there.
Mega club.
Oh, it
Mega.
was so good. Not the best when you had more than alcohol and that dance floor started singing. But yeah, other than that, it was class. I loved Syndicate. It was I have so many really good, funny memories from there. But I think that was the time where, for me, it was at its best in terms of, like, you had Arky and Duffy that had just sort of broke onto the scene. You had our Jordan. I weren't really MCing, not in like Sanctuary big clubs like that anyway. But the talent that was coming out then, Layback was still very sort of on the scene and that. But
on the way here, sorry for interrupting, but on the way here, I thought, sort of refresh my mind on something. I just had the Sanctuary Shakedown mix on that you did, and that rhyme, the Sanctuary rhyme, with where you rhyme off all the names. It's just like, that's good. That
yeah,
I'm a big
it's,
fan of that.
I like that rhyme. I mean, there was a lot of thought went into that from me, Jordan, and Farrell, and I said, because it's funny how that mix come about. Farrell messaged me and said, right, I'm going to put. Initially, it was me and Martin Murrell was going to be on, I think it was 18th birthday, for a set that we'd done our mix, and then he said, I want you to do that mix on the night. So I said, yeah, sound. And then for whatever reason, I think it was lockdown, and then it all changed and everything. And he said, I'm putting you on main stage now rather than room 2. I said, yeah, that's fine. I'm happy with that. And then I said, well, I'll do a promo for it. So I actually said to him, is there anyone who's like got quite a big name who fancies doing me a mix? So I wanted Guesty at first.
Yeah.
Because I've always wanted to just do a mix of him. I've worked with him like on stage and that, but I wanted to do a mix of him. And then he said, I don't think he's got the recording material or stuff like that. He said, is my name not big enough for you? I said, well, to be fair, I didn't want to be cheeky enough and ask you to do it. I said, because I didn't want you to turn around and say, no, I'm too busy, and feel like I'm not worthy of you doing a mix with me. I said, but B, you take too fucking long to reply. I said, so I could ask you for a mix, and it's exactly what I thought would happen. So he said, well, I'll do your mix. He said, I'll have one over to you in a couple of weeks. But then he had the thing with his house where that fell through, and then he was waiting, and he kept messaging me every like 2 months. I will get onto it. I've just not got time at the minute. Don't worry. I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, listen, I'm not going to rush you. You're Farrell.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to tell you like hurry up what you're doing and all that. So he sent this mix over. I put it on, and I was just like, fucking hell, this is mint. Like, I've got to work my socks off for this one. Like, I've got to deliver because it's Farrell.
Yeah, the proper Sanctuary tunes as well, aren't they?
They're all the tunes that I would say we put that on. Every single one was on it, and he said, like, how do you want the mix to be done? I said, mate, you're Farrell. Like, I can't tell you how to. You do what you want to do, and I'll work around it. And he said, well, what I'll do is I'll go like MC friendly, then vocally. MC friendly, then vocally. He said, I said, brilliant, do that. So he did that, and then I said, what I want to do. I said, because it's building up to your 18th birthday, and usually your 18th is a big one, and you go to any 18th party, and they've got pictures of, you know, when you was a baby all the way up until that. I said, what I want to do is I want to tell a story of Sanctuary from when it started up until now. I said, so will you do me a favour and just send me a list of some of the clubs that you've worked at? I said, because I've not been at every single week. You have. I said, send me a list of the clubs that you've worked at, some of the artists that you've worked with, and then I'll just throw in a few memories and stuff like that as well. And I sort of went through it, and then I sent him the rhyme, and he said it's hard to sort of read it and see how it's going to be said. So I sent him, I recorded it and sent it him, He said, "Yeah, I'm happy with that." I sent it to our Jordan. He was like, "Yeah," he said, "if you deliver it right, it's going to sound good."
Yeah.
So yeah, I was happy with that rhyme. It was a good one. 'Cause
Class.
it took me down memory lane as well, which is really good. There was a lot of things on there that I'd forgot about, and just little things like the first time I heard Ben, the bass, the drum. I was like, "Fucking hell!" Like, it's so simple but so effective. I was like, "Come on, B!" Like proper giddy for it. But yeah, there's loads of little things on there that really do sort of bring back good memories of when, like, the early days of going out. So yeah,
Massively underrated MCB, isn't he? Massively.
So good. He's just he's another one that
The energy.
no matter how many times I watch him on stage, I'll just stand there and just watch, because
He's got star presence as well.
yeah,
like,
everything about him. Like, he could do the most basic rhyme, but it sounds so good.
Yeah.
And he's I mean, I don't think he has a basic rhyme, but he's just brilliant. He's another one. There's very few people that can get on stage and just have the crowd doing exactly what they want them to do.
Exactly.
And he's one of them. He's super talented.
Right, yeah, we sort of went off on a tangent. Like, we'll sort of head back. You were talking about your first nights out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, sort of, were you, obviously, being the older brother to Jordan, were you going and supporting him at these nights and stuff like that because you were saying Jordan?
Yeah, I mean, I was out pretty much every weekend anyway at the time, so wherever there was something on, I was there. Me and all the lads was sort of all out. But I think Jordan, he got into it because I used to do a little bit here and there anyway. So my mate Berg, he when we was younger, he had decks in his bedroom and that, and then we was really good mates with MC Worthy, and then Worthy used to MC, and then I used to want to get involved. But I was like, right, I'll try the decks. I could never ever match the beats. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, DJing would have never been for me. I'd be all right now because you can sync it, but but realistically, I just couldn't mix. I couldn't, for whatever reason, I just couldn't do it. And then I thought, I'll just write I'll write a little bit of a rhyme and stuff, because I was listening to the tapes, I was listening to Worthy, and then I was listening to still like So Solid Crew and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, so I was writing like rhymes and stuff, and then. Yeah, I just sort of, I was out all the time anyway, and then Jordan got into it. There used to be a night in the pub down the road for me at Stag's Head in Dean, and everyone in Bolton or everyone locally used to go there every Thursday or Tuesday night it was, and you go there, and that, like, everyone was there. I mean, one of the first times I went, Roach was there, and there's loads of people who've gone who was big names at the time and stuff, and excuse me, and so I was always out anyway, and then obviously Jordan come, and I'm pretty sure I gave Jordan his first ever booking. I used to co-run a night with Adam Walker.
The name rings a bell.
He used to be on all like the older Sanctuary ones.
I think
and that.
so,
really good, like Italian with Dave Shaw and all that.
I do know that,
so me and him ran a night called Gravity.
And we touched on this last time on the last podcast, didn't we?
And these we sort of, the first night we had, it was me Jordan for his first gig.
What made you want to do this then? Like, what was the thing behind it?
To run it?
Yeah, like
it was just one of them where I think Walker had a lot of, I don't say connections, but Walker grew up with Desire, Farrell and Avi and all them, and to get on Sanctuary at that time was near on impossible, because there was so many super talented people and I was nowhere near that level, and you had to be outstanding to get on, and it was just one of them. And the other nights that were about weren't anything that sort of I was interested in, like there was the Maxime's ones, but it was a different style. Not only just music, but there's different style of MCing that I was more towards the sort of Sanctuary Crick type.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. No disrespect to the Maxime's MCs, but when if you listen to them, it was a certain clientele it was aimed at. Same goes for Sanctuary people who went to Maxime's, who preferred that over Sanctuary, and it's the same everywhere. Like, you see this argument, so like Maxime were like, was it like Scotty G and stuff like that. And then obviously you had the Monroe's ones as well. A lot of people say, I don't like the Monroe's ones, who's from Wigan, because they went to the Crick. And then a lot of the Crick ones, Monroe's ones say I don't like the Crick because they went to Monroe's. And it's one of them things where it's like, you're just used to what you grew up on.
That's it. And it was just, for me, it was just like, again, without digging at anyone, because they're all. I remember that when Farrell and that ran that the big reunion back in 2015 or something like that, where it was Maxine's, like all under one roof.
Yeah.
It was heaven. Like they had medicine, they had everything. Everything
Taste
was all
everything,
there,
isn't it? Yeah.
And you'd just be walking from one room to another, and you just it was so good. But at the time, like I weren't interested in being on Maxine's. I weren't interested in trying to get on Monroe's or anything like that. It was just all about Sanctuary. So we just sort of followed that path, and then because everybody that Walker knew and everyone that I knew was more into Sanctuary anyway, we used to work together, me and Walker and Avi as well, and we just sort of said like, do you not fancy throwing a night together? And just we didn't really think of it as competing with Sanctuary, because in my opinion, like you couldn't.
Yeah.
And I think Walker was exactly the same. It was just a case of having our own night where we could just both of us get on for a little bit, get a few people on, have a free night out, maybe earn a little bit of money out of it if we can, and just have a really good time. So we ended up having a couple of nights at Crick. We actually got Farrell on. He was DJing for us when he first started DJing.
Yeah.
He wouldn't MC for us. Like he turned up and I tried giving him the mic, and he was like, "I'm only booked as a DJ." I was like, "I know, but you're referee," because I went to learn from him. Like, but he was like, "I'm not doing it." I think Campbell was on, Paul EC was on as well that night, and he was another. He was like, "Farrell, like I remember one of the CDs that Walker's got." He said, "Farrell, like this is one of your tunes, like go stick to it or something like that." And he was just stood at the bar, Farrell, just like the way he does, like just say no, like, I'm not doing it. But it was just more a case of like, because of the people that Walker knew, we just wanted to put something together so that we could just do our little thing as well, and enjoy the buzz.
Yeah, excellent. So when you just got together and said, right, we'll get these DJs on. I think these are good. These MCs on these are good. Put the night on. How did it go?
Really good. I mean, the first night, the lineup was, I think it was Walker, Dave Shaw, Guesty, EJ, Desire.
It's not a bad lineup, is it? It's not a bad lineup.
It's really good. And then there was me, Jordan, and I think it was Paul EC was the first one. I think Avi was. I don't think Avi was on the first one.
Yeah.
Or it might have been. It was either Paul EC or Avi, whichever the first one was. But yeah, it was just really good. And like I said, for me, you know, working with people that I'd been listening to and all that, and you know.
Yeah,
and I'd seen at raves and everything, and working like with people like Guesty and Desire and that.
It's an education as well, isn't it? So when you're there, you're learning sort of on the job as well.
Definitely.
That thing. So after the success of that night, what was next? Were you throwing a couple more parties?
Yeah, we had quite a few. I think we did it all in for. We did it over the course of about 2 years, I think. We had a few. We did a few on our own. And then we did a couple of versus nights with Adrenaline.
Yeah, you sent me the flyers last time. I was having a read through, and I was like, "These lineups are amazing."
Yeah, they were really good, and that's when I first met Arky and Duffy and Satster and Angel and a few others, and like you sort of build the networking thing there, and there's a few of them. Then we did Battle of the Tribes, which was at DNA, which was
I remember this
such a good night. I don't, unfortunately. I got smashed. There was basically me and Jordan was representing Gravity, Arky and Duffy was representing Adrenaline, Farrell was doing Sanctuary with somebody else, and then there was Danny was doing I think Devotion was on, and there was one or two others anyway.
Yeah, was Dance Attack on as well, if I remember rightly?
I think so. Yeah. Because I think Woody was on that, and I don't think Worthy was. I think it was Woody and someone else.
Yeah.
But can we sit down?
It's a good, decent lineup though.
But, they were really good. But again, I was young, I was daft, and can't remember who. I do remember who. I'm not going to name him though. Gave me more than a drink, and then I just remember being on stage and I was fucked. Like I was pilled up really bad. And back then, obviously, the pills are strong and everything, and I just remember I was saying Oggy, and I must have done it about 8 times in a row because I was that fucked. And Jordan just come over, grabbed the mic off me, and went, "Go and enjoy the night." So I got down on the stage and enjoyed my night and that instead. But yeah, it was other than that, it was such a good night. But it was good. I used to love DNA.
Excellent.
Such a good club.
Excellent.
I remember one of my best memories of being on a night out was in DNA with Guesty, John G, and it was I can't remember if it was Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve. I'm pretty sure it was Christmas Eve, and he played Set You Free at midnight.
Right.
And it started like whoever it was that like did the count. I think it must have been Farrell. Did the countdown. And then it started, you know, the Set You Free bit when the thunder comes in and all that. Yeah. And then, no, it was like, I just remember being stood there just thinking, fuck me, this is euphoric as fuck. It's so good. Yeah. But yeah, it was DNA. I had so many good journeys on the coaches there and on the coaches back, but in the actual club as well.
A lot of the time it's about the journey there as well. It makes it like being with your mates and all that. Like it's all part of what the scene is as well.
Oh, definitely. Like the journeys used to be some of the funniest times. Like and on the way back as well. Everyone
dying off.
Well, back then it weren't. Everyone was like, it was different then. Like now. We got back from we finished Wonderland. I didn't even stay till the end last week because my legs were done.
Yeah.
I rang the taxi an hour early and said, "Listen, you're gonna have to come and pick me up. I'm ready to come home now." So they come and picked us up, and I was asleep in the taxi on the way home because I'm too old to do it now. But back then you're younger, you can go for days on end and not like thinking. So even back then, even on the coaches, you'd have like a massive coach on the way back, and everyone's still just on the same vibe, and they're all still having a laugh and all that. And like Blackpool to Bolton, it's about an hour. So when you still, and then you get back, and everyone's like, right, drop us off at Albion in town, and right, where's everyone going to? And you're all going back to probably my mate Poosh's or back to mine if my dad weren't there, and just wherever it was. Like everyone would scatter off into their own different groups of like 4s and 5s and that. But the coaches were mint on the way there because everyone was buzzing for it, and on the way back. And everyone was like just in the same vibe. Someone would have a tape on, like get the driver to put a tape on, usually one of the Sanctuary ones, and it was just mint. It was just class.
What I always think of when I think of Sanctuary and Blackpool, even to this day, is everyone treats it as an away day, don't they?
Yeah.
Like it's proper getting involved. I'm at the seaside. Let's do this.
That's it. It's like it's such. Like back then, obviously, like now, obviously everyone's a little bit older, but back then, like it was so good. Like you say, you get there early during the day. You'd be doing the pub crawls during the day first of all, and then you'd end up out, and everybody was I used to love them days.
In the words of Candy, you can't beat a banging shithole.
No, that's it. Yeah,
it is. Honestly, he said that to me last night. Oh, by the way, I was at Sopranos versus Corruption Bounce at Element 51, I think it's called. It used to be called something else. I was there last night and I had a catch up with a few people, and it was a decent night. It was a lot busier than I thought it was going to be as well.
Making moves out of the Corruption Bounce.
Yeah, they seem to be doing bits. Like I've seen they've done 2 decent events now, if I remember rightly. They did that one in the factory as well. I thought that was decent.
Looked really good. That Molly was on that.
So yeah, I seen Candy last night, and he was like
big smile.
Yeah. He was just
I love him.
Like, he's such a lovable guy. But we were saying about the best raves. Shitholes, man.
Yeah,
like
just the little
it's
dives.
It's so appealing.
Yeah.
So going on with your story, will you get after the Gravity sort of thing? Were you getting sort of gigs here and there for like different?
Yeah, I was getting like not the big ones as such, because again at the time it was
big talent.
Arky, Duffy, Layback, Jordan had burst onto the scene. Blackout was big then as well. So Dowie was mint.
Can I ask you a question? And I'll cut it out if you don't want it in. See, when the Blackout thing came along, obviously you're really tightly close to that sort of group of lads.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about jumping on the volumes or anything like that?
No, it's weird, right? Because the guy who ran Blackout, well, one of the guys who co-ran Blackout was Lemmy. My dad was with his mum, and my dad was like, "Why don't you go down and see Lemmy? And Lemmy will get you on." And I was like, because Blackout is like Jordan, Curtis, Dowie, Double, and that. I said, they're Jordan's mates. Yeah. They're not my mates.
Yeah.
Like that's Jordan's thing. I said, and I don't want to. As successful as they was getting, I didn't want to be
invading it.
Like,
sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, it's Jordan and Jew. Like it was always a case of let Jordan do his thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like piggybacking on the back of his success.
Yeah.
Let him do his thing, and I'll do my thing. Wherever mine takes me, wherever his takes him, Like,
Yeah, I respect that, by the way. I respect that. I was just thinking though, because obviously when I said I was listening to a couple of the mixes to refresh my mind, that style you did probably would have fitted in pretty well.
Yeah.
In hindsight, you're looking retrospectively, but that style would have fitted in.
It was more. I just think like I was a couple of years older, and because it was done at a youth club and stuff like that, I was probably 18, 19. They was like sort of 15, 16, and sort of coming through, and I just thought I was maybe a year or two just too old to be sort of doing that. So it was just never like. I think our Jordan said a few times, like, come down and get on, like. And I said, no, it's your thing, that. Like, you do that because it's you and your mates, and I'll just keep.
I respect that massively. Like that's because a lot of people would have just jumped on it, like just because they see a little bit of success. It's like I'll have a bit.
Like you had special guests and that, so I think. I'm sure Candy did one.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
Candy did one. Wizard did one, and a few other people here and there sort of did them. But I just never thought like I thought that's Jordan's thing. Let him own that, and then I'll do whatever I'm doing. Like
So during that time of you doing the odd gig here and there, are you still actively writing all the time? Is it what's because I as a producer and DJ, I don't know how MCs work. Do you have like a batch of like inspiration, or is it a constant thing? So for me, I'm constantly writing music. I'll probably go home tonight, do an hour or two, tomorrow night and the day after, or is it just when the inspiration hits you? Like what was the writing process like?
I think as an MC, for me, your mind's always on the go. So we'll be out somewhere, me and Gemma for example, and I'll say to her, do us a favour if I've not got my phone in me or whatever, so do me, just text me this. And the other day I thought like a little punchline where it says like, I'm full of punchlines like a fistful of coke. Like, because it's punchlines, fistful of coke. And I said, text me that so I remember it, because what I'll do, I'll be doing something and I'll think of a really good punchline.
No one steal this, by the way.
Yeah, if I see that on someone's, if I see like someone on someone's mix now, I'll be fuming. But
yeah, I get what you mean.
I seen it and I said to her, text me, because whatever I'm doing, even if I'm just washing up or something,
you'll forget.
I said, text me this, because it's really, I'll be able to fit it in somewhere at some point.
Right.
But
very similar to me then. So
and then
for me, if I hear a melody, I'll get my phone out and I'll hum the melody into the thing.
But I've got an ear now. I do it all on my notes on here. So if I ever lose this phone, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
But
well, I dropped the people who are regular podcast listeners will know. I dropped my phone in Venice Canal.
Yeah.
So I lost all my notes. I had all the questions off everybody that had been writing in. I had to go over all the messages again and get them. So now I've got Google,
I saved
Google
mine.
Notes.
Yeah.
So it's saved to like if you lose it, you can log in and find it.
Mine, yeah. So I've got on here like all my rhymes are on there.
Yeah.
There's fucking hundreds.
There is a lot there.
And then there's loads of little ones where like there's bits of rhymes where it's not an actual 16 or a 32.
Yeah.
It's just a little 4.
A little
at some point I'll be able to put that in somewhere because it sounds really good.
I like the fact that you do it, like, just my opinion, but it doesn't feel like you're forcing it. You know, I need to finish that thought.
Yeah, no, I'll wait until something clicks.
Yeah.
Right, I'll have little punchlines, and I think that will be really good.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will. I remember it was only about a couple of weeks ago. I was lay on here, and Gemma's lay with me, and I was looking at this sort of these 4 bars, and I'm thinking that would go really fucking well. But what with? And I'm just staring at it and just thinking nothing. All I can think of is the 4 lines that are in front of me, and I just put my phone down. I can't do it. I'll come back
you can't force it.
And then it'll just be something will happen. I'll be watching something, or I'll be scrolling through Facebook, see something, and think there's a topic on that. So in my notes, there's a page of about 35 topics.
Right.
Like,
okay.
Whether it's like suicide or airing out dirty laundry or
I'll tell you something, like a lot of your rhymes are like they hit deep, like I heard that one from the perspective of a mum trying to use the kid as a toy, and I thought, fucking hell, this is like the amount of people who would get latch onto that and be like, that's me. I can relate to that.
The ironic thing is, I use that one in mine and Marty's mix, Turn Up the Heat.
Yeah,
I use that one, and then about 6 or 7 months later, I split up with my kid's mum and I ended up going through court to see him. I was like, fucking hell, I fucking called me on 30 here. But no, it was, there's stuff that, like, what I try and do is I try and write my rhymes in a way that, like you said, they're quite deep, but there's an element of humour to it as well.
Well, you can hear the fun in a lot of the stuff. Like, there was one where you're going and you're saying that, the year, sorry for paraphrasing it, but I'm not the best at remembering lyrics.
Yeah.
So, you say basically that she like washed out and now she needs somebody to support her. And you drop the wordplay line, and honestly, I heard it. I was like, oh, that's good. That with the you're a nugget and I don't mean golden, and I was just like, oh,
you're a nugget and I don't mean gold.
Yeah, that's fucking. I was just like, that's clever. That.
Yeah. I do. I try to sort of add a bit of humour in it, because when I listen to people, so I'll listen to, like Eminem, for example.
Yeah.
And he's the same. He'll have a very dark. Or I'll, like the comedians that I like are like Jimmy Carr, Ricky Gervais, like the people who they'll be touching on such a dark, somber topic.
Just dancing on the line, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and then they'll have something that's hilarious in there as well, or someone like Jim Jeffries or something like that.
Different point of view as well.
Yeah.
So they're saying, right, like, I know I'm sort of going off topic, but they're going basically saying, right, this is really bad. This is the worst thing that could happen. But look at it from this angle.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's what I try and do with the rhymes, like where you listen to it and you think, some of them I see how far I can push it, where I'll sort of see where, like, can you say that? Like, yeah.
Have you ever had any backlash off any of the rhymes? Because there's a few people like the shoe fits sort of thing. I don't know if I listen to your music though. So
no, yeah. When I did my first mix, so my first mix was Home Truths.
Yeah.
And I put loads of statuses saying, this whole mix is about you lot, because it's only about what I've seen on Facebook. There was a couple of rhymes about my childhood, not many. It was mainly about you lot, what I see on. So it's all aimed at you lot. Like it's not aimed at anything else. It's all everything that I see off you. So there's a few people. There's one where I title my rhymes so I know what they are. Like Faggy Lads, where basically lads who have a missus that treats them like shit.
Walks all over them,
and then keep running back all the time. And she's my world and all this sort of stuff. And then it happens every weekend. There was a few people who was like, "Is this aimed at me, mate?" And I said, it wasn't, but now you brought it to my attention. If you feel it is, then maybe you should do something with your relationship. There's a couple where
that's a brilliant rhyme, that as well. When I heard that was on that mix as well. I was like,
yeah, it is.
This is good. But yeah, I get what you mean.
That's
context.
a long one, that as well. I think that's about 250 bars or something like that. I started writing it, and it was only meant to be like a 32.
Yeah, and it's got carried away.
And I just thought, it's going to keep going and going and going and going and going. And then in the end, it was like 8 pages long, and it got to a point where I was recording it in the studio, and the first time I recorded it, I had to stop and have a breather, because I'd never actually said it all in one go before. And then, because I did a video for it, and then I had to practice doing that over and over and over again, know where to do the pauses, because it's all right writing a rhyme, but if you don't know how to deliver it and where to get your breath so you can go into the next bit and stuff like that. So yeah, I try and just add the humour element to it, as well as being quite dark, because I never really want to talk about fucking, being a drug dealer and smashing people's heads in and being the big hard cunt and fucking having 40 birds and all that. It's not a reality. People see through it straight away.
Absolutely,
when you see people who are talking about things that you know that they don't live, you just think you're a fraud. But with me, everything that I talk about in a rhyme, you can look at it.
There's a relatable.
Yeah, you can think. Like he's actually been through it, or he's seen that, or we've seen that somewhere else. So it's I try to add realism, humour, and just darkness, because that's me. As I am quite a dark, like my sense of humour, 9 times out of 10, I am the person where people say, "Oh, well, this person's coming around, they don't like this humour, like just don't say anything." Like I'm always that person.
I've been told to put the filter on so many times.
Yeah, where people will be like, "Carl, don't say anything daft." Like, yeah, no worries. Like, but I've got a dark humour, which you can tell off a lot of my statuses and stuff like that as well.
Well, excellent, mate. So, right, correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right in thinking you had a bit of a break from the scene and stuff like that?
I don't even know why. I just sort of, it were just before Callum were born.
So it's like 2000.
So you were born in 2012.
12.
Yeah. He was born in 2012, and it was just before that where I just sort of, I'd stopped spending time with the people that I used to go out with all the time in terms of going out. There was, my mate Deanie got in like a really bad car crash, and it sort of, it divided a lot of us because he ended up getting like a big compensation claim, and there were so many leeches like just hanging around him that was like only there because he had the money and stuff like that. And then it just sort of like, I looked at things and I just thought it's not what I want. I want different, like. And then so I just stopped going out. I started just having like normal nights out. But even when you went on a normal night out back then, like the pub scene and clubs and that was so good, I didn't feel like I was missing out on the raves or anything like that. It was just like going out on a Saturday afternoon in Bolton, finish football, straight out on a Saturday afternoon. You're out on the lash all day, all night, and then Sunday club. You just usually round at my mate's house and Sunday club watching Soccer Sunday and stuff like that. Usually me and my mate Vinny or round at Poosh's, my mate Poosh and Berg and Josh and everyone like that. So we'd all be out and about, but just not going to raves. So I just stopped. Even if I did go to them, I weren't really interested in MCing. I just wanted to be there and enjoy, just enjoy and just basically be a raver. Because at the end of the day, that's what I was first and foremost. Yeah. That's what I will be when I stop writing and stuff like that. And it's just something that
What was the last rave that you went to of that time then that you can remember at all?
I think I always went to him because I in terms of working.
Like the last sort of booking you took sort of before your little hiatus.
I think it was one for, I'm pretty sure it was like a Cheeky Tunes one. It was in Atherton. It was a fucking really good night, to be fair. And then I think after that, I just preferred getting smashed. Like I didn't want to be on stage. I just preferred to be at the bar.
Loving it,
Eyeballing Sambuca and stuff like that.
Class.
Yeah, I just preferred to be. I just preferred to be. Because back then there weren't any money in it. You're lucky to get maybe 40 quid, but you'd spent 30 quid in a taxi anyway. So there was no money in it. There was no real, back then, reason to really push yourself to
other than just a passion for it.
And I don't think I had the passion for it then to really sit there and write. I mean, I did write a lot of rhymes, but I didn't have the passion to really sort of push myself on and stuff. I had passion for getting smashed, all day long. I was, that's it.
That's passion.
That's it. So I just preferred to just go out, have a drink, have a laugh, and then that were it. So I just stopped doing it, and then it got to the point where I was still going to raves and that. So our Jordan would ring me every now and again and say, "I've got this night in Newcastle, Jordan." Yeah, I'm definitely on that road trip. Because again, it's the road trip and that makes the experience.
Absolutely.
Or he'd say, I remember there was one in Working and that I come with him. Me, Jordan. I think it was Rhinesy and Rapid, and Rapid drove. And what a good night that was like. And there's one in Scotland where it was me, Jordan, our mate Liam Broomhead, and I think it was Rhinesy again. And then again, just the nights up there are so much better. I don't know what it is. Everyone just seems to be more wild, which suits me because when I have a drink, I don't go out often, but when I do, I just think go for it. Like just have a mint night. Just leave everything on the dance floor. And then that's it.
Makes sense.
There was quite a few, and a few sanctuaries that I went to in between and all that sort of stuff, and there was a few good times. But I just felt like when I got back into it.
Hello, how are we doing? Before we start this episode, I just want to give you a little bit of a plug and promo on Fiddy's little venture going on there. So go on then, what is it?
So with the Gate Street Bar and Grill in Blackburn.
Sell it to me, baby.
So we're Mexican street food based, but with a little bit extra.
Right, go on.
We pride ourselves on service. We pride ourselves on big plates and leaving the customer satisfied.
Excellent.
We're never going to be the place that people come for because it's cheap and it's convenient. You're coming for a good time out.
This sounds like my type of gaff.
We promote communal eating. We promote the tapas style eating where you're not just out for something to eat. You're all trying each other's food, and it's a community experience.
I'm a big sharer, me, because then see for me what the thing is with this. Say you've got this dish here, and this dish here. What you can do is you can go. I'll have a try of that, and if I don't like it, I won't get it next time when I'm on my own.
Yeah.
So there you go. Have some of that. I'll have some of that. Some people hate sharing. Why not? I've tried a bit of everything. So go on then. What's your best seller? What's
the best sellers? They all come from the steak range.
Yeah.
I stick to rump.
Yeah.
I feel it's the best steak, the best cut, the best value.
Right.
But I add my touch to it. So I've got my own seasoning, my own spice blends.
Yeah.
Everything's fresh. Fresh deliveries every day. We don't freeze ever. Everything's straight from the supplier to the fridge to the grill.
Yeah.
We just don't. I don't feel like I'm giving the best value for money by pulling out a bag of frozen shit.
Yeah.
It's got to be fresh. Fresh is best.
Right, there we go. So I'm going to put the address below and the name, and you can have a check out of that. And what are you offering people who watch the podcast?
So if you come and you give the code word Riffresh, we'll offer you 10% off.
There you go. Have some of that. 10% off with the code Riffresh. I'm doing this to help promote this because I feel like I'm going to tell you right now. I haven't had it yet, but it looks amazing, and I'm about to go and have a plate full of food. So. Yeah, nice one, mate. Come on. Excellent.
I was listening to...
So this must have been like, what, 2016, 2017 you came back, was it?
2018 I dropped my return mix.
Yeah.
2017 I started writing for it.
Yeah. I can remember that you started sort of coming along again and seeing bits and bobs. And
well, I just felt like... At the time, in 2016, 2017, I was listening to some of the promos that people were putting out. The only one that I can remember now is Josh's Easy's when he stood there. Let me start this one. I'm going to get a few... what is it now? I know it word for word as well. But that was the only one that stood out because it was mint.
Yeah.
And I was listening to everybody else's, not everyone else's, but a lot of other people's. And I thought, they're not... No one's bringing anything like real to the table. It's all about fucking. I've got fucking birds on tap. I've got kilos in the boot, and I've got this. And I just thought, you've not. Like, you haven't. Like, stop bullshitting. And I just thought, if I actually sit there and write something and put my mind to it, I know lyrically that I'm a lot better than a lot of what was out there at the time.
Yeah.
There's obviously, absolute units like Josh and. Pressure and people like that. Pricey weren't even on the scene then at the time, so there was only 2 or 3. G weren't really putting anything out there. Jordan was doing his little bits here and there, but again he was moving into sort of the bigger things. And I thought for what I was seeing, there weren't anything
to it sort of thing. Is that what you?
I just felt I could add a lot more than what they was bringing. Like I say, Josh was. You could tell from, but he'd been in it for so long anyway. Like. When I seen that first promo that he did, and I was like, that's what you should be bringing.
Yeah.
If you're not bringing it on that level, what's the point in doing a promo that's less than that?
Yeah.
Like, you should be bringing it at that level. If you're not, but then I get that obviously people are not at his level as well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I thought, well, I can add to that. I can bring something along, and Tasker was another one. He was doing really good things at the time, and I thought that's what you should be doing. You should be at there, not like.
It's like I said it on the last podcast. If you want to put your energy into something, whether you're an MC, you're a DJ, a producer, you strive to be the best. Everyone says, it's not a thing, but it's healthy to think that if you can hit their level, you're doing it right.
That's it. And
do you know what I mean? Don't settle. You're always competing with yourself, because you're always, in my opinion, it's like the last one you did is all you've got to do is be better than that, right? Yeah. But at the same time, you've got to say, well, if this is the standard that Easy's doing it at, I need to match that energy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why I set up the Back to Bars mix series, because I thought the plan was for that. I asked 5 people who I regarded as you're mint and I want to go up against you. Not against you, but I want you to be on the same mix as you, so that everyone can see.
Yeah, and make you not look secondary. Like it's like you can go bar for bar with them.
Yeah, exactly. I felt like do that and then go from there. And I just felt like, obviously before I did that, I had to get a few mixes out and stuff like that, but that was always the plan anyway, was to sort of have a look at I know when it gave me the idea when Finchy did that Supreme.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he had Jordan, Finchy, G and B.
Yeah.
And they were just going rhyme for rhyme for rhyme for rhyme. And I thought, that's what I want. But I wanted to base it on like a sort of little 30-minute mix.
Yeah.
No more than sort of 45 minutes, but a 30-minute mix, because I think you can listen to an half an hour mix no matter what you're doing. When anyone sends me a mix for an hour, I've got loads of mixes that people have sent me. We do this as it's too long. Like an hour, I won't listen to a mix for an hour unless I'm on if we're coming up to your end of a 2-hour drive or something like that, or half an hour, you're in the shower, you're washing up, you're hoovering up or whatever. You can do, most things are split into half an hour blocks.
Yeah.
So I think if you get a mix, you need it for half an hour, 40 minutes tops, because after half an hour, I do it myself, even on my own ones that are longer than that, I'll start not listening to it and I'll tail off to do something else, and you get bored of it after a bit. So
if there's a few of you on it, then fair enough. But if it's I'm showing what I can do, and this is DJ showing what they can do, half an hour is a DJ could do so much in half an hour. MC can do so much in half an hour.
Yeah, that's it. And I just felt like with the Back to Bars episodes, I felt that's what I wanted. Just half an hour of two MCs, just literally just going back to back to back to back. And then I think I asked Pricey, I asked Josh, I asked Cavo. Cavo's so fucking lyrically gifted.
Right. I haven't heard much of his stuff.
Yeah, no. If you listen to him, lyrically, he's fucking brilliant. Jonesy is another one. His punchlines are unreal. He's very, very good. I didn't ask Pressure for some reason. I don't know why. I should have done, but I've not got around to it anyway. But there's still so much there for me to do with the Back to Bars, and the concept of it is, I wanted someone who understood, as a DJ, understood what I wanted. There was loads of DJs who I'd sort of looked at, and I thought Langy, because he's such a talented DJ, and he understands that. I said, right, Langy, what I want from this is, I don't want any vocals, I don't want any breakdowns, I don't want any, it just needs to be 30 minutes of just banger, so that the two MCs can go for it. I said, what I don't want is an MC to be getting right into the rhythm and the adrenaline be going, and then there's one of them big long, one of them old shitty Eminem songs that had the Eminem verses all the way through the songs and all that hype it. I said, no, I want that. I just want so you can go at it and really just basically showcase your skills as an MC. You'll still look good as a DJ because obviously you're playing banger after banger and everything like that. Set's mint. The only reason the MCs could do that is because the set was mint. The set was mint because the DJ's mint, and then the MCs can just flourish. I said, and then you're flourishing, we're flourishing, brilliant. I said, and what I'll do is I'll use you for every Back to Bars that I do. I'll have this. So it's Langy featuring Juicy, not against, but Juicy and Pricey, or Juicy and Easy, Juicy and whoever. And go from there. So I did that, but that was during the lockdown, which was good because it gave me time to sort of play around and all that. But before that, my first one was Home Truths, and I try and name them all similar. So Home Truths, Real Talk, Turn Up the Heat. It's all things that are basically saying I'm going to bring something here. And on each one, I try and touch on
different things,
serious topic. So I think the first one was Faggy Lads. The second one was with Marty, was about the mum playing God with kids.
It's good, it is really good. It's impressive that I've listened to them, and I was just you're bringing something different. People are always I've seen this has been a big subject this week where it's people who are underrated or people who don't get the shot at the bigger gigs, and it's when someone says bring something different, what you were doing is different. There's a lot of people doing different stuff out there, but I can see a big appeal to what you're doing. Do you know what I mean? And I feel, and don't mind saying, I feel maybe some of your stuff's maybe underrated, or underappreciated. So when you put it out, if you don't mind me saying that,
no, probably. I think the main reason why is that, and I think Pricey suffers from this a lot as well. We won't kiss asses to get people to listen to our stuff. I write a rhyme because I think it's relevant. I think it's funny. I think it's meaningful. And I won't there are some rhymes that I do purely for comical value. Like that one on, I don't know if I did it on the Sanctuary one. Hi, my name's Claire. I've got fake tits and fat hair. Like there's a few that I do that are purely for comical value. But there's some that like I just try and make sure that it's I like it. Like if I like to listen to
art
it
for yourself. You'd like to. I do that when I write tunes. I used to. If you listen to my old stuff, it's like I listen to it and I don't feel like it's me when I listen back to it. So for instance, it's like I felt like maybe I was just maybe people pleasing.
Yeah.
And then there was a point where it just shifted, and I thought, well, I'm just going to do what I enjoy because I'm not enjoying doing that.
Yeah.
To people please. So I do my own stuff, and if people like it, it's a bonus. So when you write a rhyme, it's like, I've done that, I'm proud of that. If people get behind this, fucking, that's just extra. That's
I'll know, like, there'll be certain bits of a rhyme where I think, that's fucking good. And I'll think, right, that has to go into the right rhyme. If it doesn't, then it's not. It's going to lose its appeal. So there's a lot of little bits where I used to send Dowie, because lyrically Dowie's fucking
he's really good.
Like, so I used to send Dowie like rhymes.
Yeah, I think he's underappreciated for lyrics as well. Like I think some of his stuff sort of like goes over people's heads.
I think he came along too early.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Now people listen to lyrics and listen to rhymes and stuff like that. Back then they didn't as much, and that's when he was at his peak. Diego.
It was all about flow, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think he was just ahead of his time. But lyrically, he's one of the people that, like I say, where I was like, that's the level you should be at.
Yeah.
If you're not aiming for that, then what are you aiming for? Like,
excellent.
It doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think so. For me, I think they'd be appreciated more if more people listen to them. But then again, I do get a fairly good return on them, like in terms of plays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of them where I think
those who do listen appreciate it. Yeah. You just need to get more ears on it. I think that's my opinion. I've got a question I was going to ask you at the beginning, because I meant to ask you on the last episode. Is your dad or your uncles or anything like that like musicians at all? Just because obviously with you been writing the lyrics and Jordan writing the lyrics, I wonder what that stems from.
No, it just come from, I mean, like I said before, having the Jamaican background, you can't be Jamaican and not be into music. From the minute we wake up in the morning, well, before then, my dad was up anyway, music was on, even when we lived with my mum, because obviously she never slept because she was on crack, but there was house parties 24/7, so the music was always on. So from the minute you wake up, music's already on. It's on all day. Like when my dad used to take us out in the car, stereo, full blast. So
it's more musical lovers rather than musicians.
And then I think it's just
interesting.
It's come from, like I say, me and Jordan, very similar taste in music. So we both grew up listening to like the Fugees, Tupac, Biggie, and hip hop and everything like that. And we'd obviously copy them.
Because it was so lyrical, that's what it's translated. Okay, that explains a lot. And then
So Solid Crew, like when they come through, like we got onto them about a year before they come up north, if you like. So we was obviously onto them and stuff because a family in London listen to this, and you'd start listening. We used to always go down to Notting Hill Carnival. On the bank holiday weekend in August, they have Notting Hill Carnival. They've got one in Preston, one in Moss Side as well. And then we'd always listen to like the Jungle. So there was always like the MCs on there and everything. So and then the drum and bass when that come through was well into that. So it was a natural sort of thing for us to know about, like you said, it was always dead lyrical anyway, and the Fugees with Wyclef and all that was all about storytelling, and Tupac was all about like delivering a message, and Biggie was more sort of like storytelling and stuff, and so we just sort of grew up on that, and then you naturally sort of copy them, and
you brought it to a scene that's got these MCs, but you're just adding lyrically. It makes a lot of sense. So
it's just because, like I say, product of your environment type of thing. We just sort of we was always into it, and then obviously Jordan seen like me doing a few bits on stage and all that, and then he'd come along to a few, and then he was like, "Fucking, I want a bit of that," and then he just sort of Jordan is like, he has one of them sort of characteristics where if he puts his attention onto something, he's addicted to it. Like in like I say, football, emceeing and all that. He just focus. Whereas I'll do it, have 10 years off, then come back and do it, and then like not really like he'll just be at it, completely at it, and that's it. So yeah, he's it's just come from just
being brought up around
music and just having it in us like constantly. Before I was watching that wrestling documentary.
By the way, we're watching wrestling in the background. It's behind the camera.
Jay the Snake. But yeah, we're it's just having that music thing. No matter what we're doing, we've usually got music on, and it's just a big part of I believe music will heal.
Yeah,
a lot.
It carries you through a lot, doesn't it? Yeah.
Like some of my, you can always put an emotion to music. Like there's certain tunes, or there's certain festivals, or even events or something. Like I can think fucking
if you hear that tune, it takes you back to that place.
And it's one of them where it's a massive healer. And I think if you've not got music in your life, you're gonna suffer depression at some point, because you need it to sort of, it's euphoric in it. It brings that.
It's unexplainable.
If you connect to music, then you'll do all right a lot of the time.
Excellent. There was a couple of questions I wanted to ask you. Since like having your little hiatus, sort of around the early 2010s, did you notice a change in the music at all when you came back? So
so it was very like when I was initially MCing. If someone turned up to a club and played anything at 1:55, like it'd start a riot. But now, like not so much. But when I come back, it was all like 1:55, and it was the new generation as well, which they wanted something different, because obviously they wanted new energy and all that, and it had evolved a little bit. I prefer the old. I think my best mix is the Sanctuary one, purely because every tune on it is something that I love. The speed of the tracks, the actual tracks themselves, it's something that I love. There were other really good mixes that I've done as well, but I think my best one was the one with Farrell, purely because it's everything that I grew up on, and it's everything that I felt, I love this track, and then the next one coming, I love this one as well. There's other mixes that I've done where there might be a track here and there where I'm not really feeling it as much, or I don't know the track as well. But yeah, I think music definitely changed.
Do you think so?
Just you look at, say for example, like I spent a lot of time in Craik and Wigan Pier, and the BTID things now. So what Andy Whitby plays, for example, wouldn't have got away with doing that sort of his mashups and that, and the way that how hard he does it, wouldn't have got away with that in Pier. It wouldn't have
translated as well. I understand that.
So it's moved along. I think it's moved along in a good direction. Majority, some of them not too keen on. But yeah, it's.
But see, when you came to like your first night back out, where you like you perform and you got on stage and someone's played tunes and you're just like, was it noticeably different for you? Do you think?
Yes and no, because the general gist of a tune is always going to be the same. It's always going to have usually the same amount of bars, like and the breakdowns and the vocals are going to be in the same place. It's just the actual style of the actual tune is a lot different. I think my first gig back was for Bouncing. I think it was the 5th birthday.
Is that Wrexham? Yeah.
And they always put on a really good show. And was it that one? I'm pretty sure it was. And just being on, I was on with Reflex, and it was, I'd done a promo with him and stuff like that, and I'd been listening to tracks more to try and get up to date with everything and everything, but I just felt like it was a lot. It was the general gist of it is the same, but the actual vibe's different. That's it. So it was a big transition to sort of from where it was to sort of take yourself out of it and then throw yourself back in and understand it, if that makes a bit of sense, because you have to understand the music that you're working with, otherwise you're going to drop the wrong rhyme at the wrong time and stuff like that. So
So since coming back, what sort of events have you been doing? I do keep tabs on what everyone's doing, like, but so Let's Have It's been a big one for you.
Let's Have It.
I think that's really brought you out to a lot of people who didn't know you as well at the same time. Like their crowds are a much younger generation than maybe one around when you done the Gravity stuff out like that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So it's brought out you to this exposure to this new generation. Obviously, you said bouncing. What other bits and bobs have you done? You did
BTID
as well.
Sanctuary a couple of times. I think with the Let's Have It one, I've had to sort of transition how I am as a performer as well.
Yeah.
So they don't want, the crowd in general don't want someone stood on stage doing rhymes about the mum crackdown and stuff like that. So I've had to sort of shift from a lyrical more to hosting.
Yeah.
And I think whilst I was trying to transition to that is when I was performing for Sanctuary. And I think when I performed for Sanctuary, I was kind of confused between the two.
Yeah.
So I should have gone to Sanctuary and just been lyrical.
Yeah.
But I weren't. I went to Sanctuary and tried hosting and being lyrical. I don't think it came across too well, which is probably why he's not booked me since. But I just think at that time I was thinking, what's going to be the bigger draw?
Yeah.
Is it going to be Sanctuary or is it going to be Let's Have It? And I thought Let's Have It's going to be the bigger one because obviously it opens up a lot more doors, BTID and stuff like that. So I was in the transition of moving from, what I wanted to do is be lyrical on the mixes and the CDs and stuff, and then be able to host, because that's where things are now. Like if you're doing, like I've been lucky enough to do BTID, Zombie Nation, Pia. I've done them all list, apart from the abroad ones. I've done everything that's here. I've done Bounce 7 this year. Let's Have It. I've done a night for Lange a couple of weeks ago. Was
that Take You Back?
Yeah, Taking You Back. There's another one. There's no point in plugging it because by the time this will be out, it's on this weekend. So
this weekend, come on.
Yeah,
this is out tomorrow, mate. So
is it? All right, sound. Yeah, well, Taking You Back is on Saturday the 29th. I mean, to be fair, we're going up against. There's a Maxime's night.
Yeah.
Literally a few doors down.
Right, okay.
And there's also Sanctuary, which is. But don't go to them. Come to the Taking You Back.
I'm on at Sanctuary. Come to Sanctuary. If you're in Blackpool, come there.
Yeah, Blackpool there. Wigan, you've got to come to Taking You Back.
Taking You Back.
Rob Kane, Joe Taylor, Philbin.
Fuck it, we'll do a plug here, right? So this weekend, if you've got nothing on, the weekend being the 29th,
yeah,
right. Big week, massive weekend for events. Really, when you look at it, right?
It is, yeah.
Well, and we won't just plug the ones we perform. We'll plug a lot of them, right? Because that's the kind of people we are, right? So I'm on in Sanctuary this Saturday. It's going to be great. I think it's my first manic set.
Good, to be fair.
With John. I said this to Fid yesterday. I can't believe if you told 12-year-old me that I'd be a Sanctuary resident and in a little production duo with John G, right? I'd have just laughed at you because it's fucking pathetic, like the thought of it. But that's where we are.
I seen him last week, at Wonderland.
Yeah.
And I was coming out and he was just stood there trying to not get wet through, and went over had a little chat with him. But he's another
legend.
He's that's legend. The only word for him is legend.
Yeah.
He's so good. Like I still listen to one of the first ever mixes he put out on SoundCloud.
Yeah.
Back to the old school or back to the OP or whatever.
Back to the OP, yeah.
So fucking good. Like every mix is on point, and it's just every tune is on point, and he's a fucking legend.
Yeah.
But he's
so this Saturday, Sanctuary in Blackpool at Level 4 nightclub. We've got Taking You Back. Langley, don't worry, don't want any royalties for this or out. Carl's on, so you can have it.
I'll have his royalties.
So go on, who's on that lineup?
Rob Kane, Monsoon and Dreamworks,
massive lineup already.
Joe Taylor, Philbin, Angel, Carlil, Lange, Ben Jones, Poddy, MDMC, Jonesy, and myself.
Fucking,
so it's such a good fucking lineup.
And where's that at? Vibe?
That's a Vibe,
I mean,
from 7 o'clock until whenever.
And I may as well plug it as well. There's the Maxime's night on, isn't there? I don't even know what that's at. I apologise, but
somewhere in Wigan, with some people on.
Yeah, so I apologise. I know you don't want to be plugging it, but listen, this podcast is about the scene, and if people aren't going to the nights, then we want it all to thrive and survive. Ideally, we'd have 1,000 people in each club, but it's hard times, cost of living and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you've just got to fight for what you can get in the club.
That's it. I mean, to be fair, they are 3 very good. Like,
Yeah.
But I think, again, not throwing shade on anyone else, I think Lang's that lineup is.
Oh, it's mega.
It meant you've got Rob Kane.
Yeah.
You know, you can't give him enough accolades. Angel, again, I think I said it on the last one, and I'll say it time and time again. She's one of the best to ever do it.
Yeah.
Carlisle, banging set.
Seen him last night. He was lively last night.
But he was lively last week at Wonderland as well. And then Philbin, again, massively talented.
Yeah.
The lineup's just ridiculous. Joe Taylor.
Yeah, I love Joe.
You can't say his name without just thinking, wow, he's class. It's a lineup and a half.
It is.
Monsoon and DreamWorks, and it's going to be such an easy night for me, Duffy and Jones. Working with them.
He's 2 good MCs to be on with as well.
Oh yeah, Duffy. He's class. Like, again, I was saying about Jonesy before. His punchlines and his cadence and everything is so fucking good.
Duffy was on fire last night as well. Like,
he always is. He's like. He's some. When I first met him and Arky when we did the Gravity versus Adrenaline, and Jordan said, "Oh, watch out for these 2." He said, "Like, watch them," because I think he'd worked for Adrenaline a couple of times. And I seen them both, and I was like, "Wow."
The thing with Duffy is, right, he's always been good. I'll never ever. I won't take that away from you. Like, if you watch this, it's fair enough. He's always been good. But his crowd control over the last 5 years has been. He done that thing. He was like, get down, down. He done that yesterday. The whole crowd came up, and then the tune kicked in. It just fucking went off, and I'm like, he's
unreal, isn't he?
He's unlocked the next level for him. Like, I think, in my opinion, lyrically, he's always been amazing. His deliverance has always been good. But that crowd control now, I'm bigging him up massively. What a guy!
He should be bigged up as well, though, because, like you said before about pushing the scene. Yeah, he's somebody that he should be celebrated as being, again, if you're not aiming to be at that level, what are you aiming for? Like, he's another one where you just put him at the top. You can't say he's mid-table or he's what I would class as WrestleMania. You know, he should WrestleMania main eventer.
He loves wrestling as well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So he is. He's not just a SummerSlam. He's always a WrestleMania. Do you know what I mean? Like, so. He's fucking brilliant. He's another one that I just love watching because you see him. He's dead calm and reserved. And then he's on stage and you're like, what a transition that in the space of 10 seconds. What a transition! But he's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. So before we sign off today, mate, I just wanted to ask you. You said you had questions for me, so
right. But so
no, this might be getting cut out.
Your last ever gig is this weekend.
Right.
You can only pick one DJ to go back to back with and 2 MCs to work on it for that one set. Who would it be?
Right. Last ever gig.
Only people that you've worked with as well.
Last ever gig.
So can't be like, you can't pick someone you've never worked with. So you know that it's going to be your retirement gig, for example.
Yeah.
You can only pick one DJ to go back to back with.
Yeah.
And 2 MCs to work on your set.
Right. Well, it's going to go full circle for me, I think. It's going to be John.
Yeah.
Right, because I mean,
it
would have to be.
Yeah.
It's mental because John was a fully established DJ when I was listening to him in primary school, and it was like for me it was always the Italian and the hard house and the trance all mixed together.
Yeah.
It was my taste of music, and I grew up. Most of my tunes are inspired by mixes he's done.
Yeah.
Right. So it'd have to go full circle of how I got into it is how I'd want to get out of it, right? That being said, it'd have to be Farrell on the mic. And I'm tied between... I did some live sets with Jordan, but they were hardcore sets, so when I was doing a bit of hardcore. They were good. It'd have to be Jordan or Finchy. Finchy really helped me sort of get out there and really like, because I was DJing in like Cumbria for years, and between Farrell and Finchy, they were the ones who were like, for me, really helped. And I genuinely think, I'm not saying this might be complete bullshit, but I feel like them two seen some potential in me of like he's willing to fucking to to put in the work.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think I've got a little tiny bit of talent as well. So it would have to be them two. But it's either going to be Jordan or Finch. But I think just because of my history with Stu, I'd have to go Finchy. So Finchy, Farrell, and John G. I don't think that's a bad set, to be honest. But yeah, that's me on my way out. If I was to do our last ever set next weekend, I'll fill out the question a little bit more. I'd probably do it at venue wise. Fucking hell, Bowlers has always been my favourite.
Yeah.
And do you know what? I've never been to a Zombie Nation, even though it's like the biggest event.
Oh, you need to.
I've never been to one.
Come this year.
And yeah, I put myself on at 12 o'clock. Nice midnight set.
Yeah, definitely.
And now you've said it and you've got the fucking the things going. I'd probably start off we'd set you free 12 o'clock. I know it's not New Year's Eve or anything like that, but just set the tone, euphoricness, play loads of euphoric bangers, and then there you go. So there's your answer to the question. If you want me to fill it out.
Answer, yeah. I forgot the other question. There was two really good questions that I had, but that was the main one. What was your favourite gig that you've done?
Fucking hell, you put me on the spot here, mate.
I was going to ask you before.
Yeah. I'll return the question to you in a minute then. You have a think of what yours is now.
I know mine straight out.
Right, okay, what's yours? Go on.
Mine was not the last Let's Have It, the one before with Jordan, Angel, and Keogh Jumps Up. It was just one of them where I felt that I was on fire. Mm-hmm. Jen was on fire. Mm-hmm. The set that she played was fucking sublime. I think we talked about it on the last pod anyway.
Yeah.
And then Jordan's jumped up on stage with me, and then we're going back to back, and we're having such a good time. And then obviously Keogh's.
There's so much into that as well. Yeah. It's like big stage, big brand you're playing for, but you're there with your brother, and it's a sentimental value as well.
Not only that, it was with Jordan
Yeah.
and Jen, who had pretty much started out with like from the Gravity and Adrenaline days.
It's a full circle thing again.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
I don't think that set could have been made better by any other DJ in terms of what it meant to me, because it was like it's us three doing like what we did back in 2005, maybe 2004, 2005. But back then it was in Club Zone in Preston or at Crick. Like now we're
It's on
pure.
a big stage,
It's on a big stage. It's a sold out crowd. Everyone, the decor, everything was just like. If I never had another booking, I'd be like that. I'm happy with that anyway. Like that was for me. That won't ever be beat in terms of what it meant to me to be on there. Again, massive shout to Cal because he got a picture. I've got the canvas upstairs.
Yeah. Class picture.
So it's like me, Jordan, Jen's hands in the air, like, and then me and Jordan are there, and all the colours and the brightness, everything that Let's Have It is, the brightness, the colours, the atmosphere was all in that. You can just see it in that one picture, and it's fucking. So that for me, hands down, is the best.
Favourite set for me, right? There's a couple of standout sets. I can give you maybe 3 standout sets. All for different reasons. Obviously, my favourite for what it was, favourite because of sentimental value and whatnot. 3 completely different ones as well. So we'll start off with. I ran an event, Basemental Weekender it was, and we had Friday, Saturday and Sunday, the bank holiday Sunday in August. Risky putting it on with all the other festivals and stuff on, but it was in a club that I was doing the managing the events for a while there, and I said, right, we'll do this Weekender, and it was me and Finchy at my own event. And it was the recordings online. You can go and listen to it, and you can hear the atmosphere off the thing.
Yeah.
It took me back to a time where I never got to be there. Like I never got to experience the 90s when everything was banging and like everyone's like, oh, you had to be there for this. I seen pictures of that particular club in the 90s and early 2000s where it was thriving. It was rammed every weekend. And we had that place wall to wall for that. That was the only night I ever seen it that busy in recent memory.
Yeah.
Maybe if there was a frequency night that was on there that was maybe equally as rammed, but this was rammed. Finchy was on, right? It was that rammed, and people had had came and whatnot, we had to escort Finchy out the building with bouncers down the back exit because people were just that enthralled, and every tune I was playing, it was getting bigger and bigger reactions, and it was just such a good set. And like, it wasn't even in a massive club in front of a massive crowd. There was probably 300 people there.
It's just what it meant. Like,
it meant a lot to me. So for sentimental value, that. The two others that stick out in my mind was I got asked to go and play in France, in Toulouse, in 2015 for Halloween. I turned up there and I didn't know what to expect. Second gig abroad actually, but and I turned up. Gary Select was there, Dirtex, Star Project, like all these like European hard bass DJs and stuff like that. I turned up and I didn't know what to expect. For whatever reason, I walked into a club in the middle of France, right? Everyone seemed to know who I was and get pictures, and I was just like, this was overwhelming.
Yeah.
This wasn't a club either, it was a warehouse.
It would have been a bit of a mind blow, that, like.
Yeah, and I came on, and the full set's online, an actual video, so you can see that I'm not bullshitting you when you say about it.
Where online is it?
It's on YouTube. Someone's actually recorded the full set on the thing.
What would you search?
I just put Brad Riffresh France, and something will come up, and it'll be there. It'll be a good plug. It's very amateurly recorded. Don't get me wrong, but because it's literally somebody who's just been like a mega fan of mine and recorded the full set, like every single mix. It's like, it was such a good time, and I really appreciate that. And for the last one, I'd have to say my third favourite would be 2019 Sangfest in the Lakes. Right, I'd played Sangfest before, but it was always the after parties and stuff like that. I was main stage. I had Farrell and I had Jonak on my set. And
Jonak's so good.
Yeah, he's a really good crowd MC. And everyone I knew locally who'd been coming to my nights, who'd been supporting me, they were all there. And all my mates who were DJs and all that were all there. And it was very, very humbling to do. And I thought, Farrell put trust in me to get this place sort of banging. And I played, and I came off, and I was just like, class. Like, and everyone I knew around me,
Sankfest up in the Lakes was insane.
Our big outdoors, sun's fucking beaming, it was class. And like, all the legends are there watching my set as well, because there was like Arena 3 or 4 that was old school, and all the people I listened to grew up like, there was like some local legends there, and then there was like the likes of, say, like sure, there was like Tatty, and there was like all the original like
the
all
proper
there.
legends.
Yeah, like Matt Fee was there. Matt Fee came up to me afterwards, and he was like, "Mate, I've seen you come a long way in like since I first met you," and because I DJ'd him years ago, and I met him and introduced myself, and I think we've always sort of kept in touch. And from where I was to where I am, it was like that was good. That, and it was very, very, very humbling. So yeah, they're my three. So we're just going to tie today up, mate, if that's okay. I don't know if you realise we've actually been recording for a long time. I didn't realise when I checked the time before. I was like, oh, fucking hell. But yeah, I just want to say thanks for coming on, mate. It's been
always a pleasure, mate. Always a pleasure.
And you will be back on soon. Go and check these mixes out that we've been talking about. Some of my favourite lyrics, I think, in recent years. So go and check them out. I think you should. And if you've enjoyed this, then you can sign up to our Patreon, share it with your mates as well. It's patreon.com/itstimetoriffresh. I bring this every week, every Monday, guaranteed. Never let the crowd down yet, except once. We had a bit of an issue. I'm just trying to make people be aware of what the bounce scene is and how much I appreciate it, and seeing other artists tell their story, get to know them on a more personal level. If you enjoyed this, give it a little like, drop a comment and tell me if you hated it. Let me know. I'd rather know that you hated it. Do you know what I mean? If you didn't like this episode, let me know.
I think for me, obviously I've known a lot of people through years of being in the mixes and stuff like that. Even through these, I've learned more about people that I already knew. So the Candy and Grundy one, which is really good, really fascinating. The Farrell one, the last one with Pricey and Cal, I thought was brilliant. When you said halfway through, fucking hell, Pricey, you've been brilliant on this one. I was actually, just before you said it, I thought, go on, Pricey. Like, you could see that the confidence was oozing out of him. I don't know if it was because he had the I don't want to use the word safety net, but he had because Cal was there as well, and it sort of brought him out a bit more, and I thought that was a really, really good one. But there's a few more that I've learned a lot more about people by watching these. Because usually you just see them on a night out, in a club,
Have a crack,
in the courtyard, in the smoking area, in the foyer, whatever. You don't really get to know them unless you've gone back with them and you know them. But again, I've known Candy and Grundy for
years,
2 decades nearly, and I learnt more about them on these. So yeah, you know, they are really good. So they're a good way. If you've not seen all of them yet, go back and watch all of them again, because you'll see people in a different light.
Excellent. I appreciate that compliment, mate. So yeah, if you've enjoyed this, then as I say, we'll be back again next Monday. Nice one.